Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Prep Your Standard NATO. My name is Ashayla Ramsey. I am your host. Today's guest is Mary Ambrose. She's a veteran from World War II and she's sharing her story. Listen in. Back in the day, you had the separate services and now they have just the one.
Where we were very little, and they used to say they did have a name for us, don't they? I've forgotten. Blue something or other. But,
so which service were you in?
In the Air Force.
Air Force, yeah, okay.
Yeah. There's my photo up there.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
Aren't you a stunner?
The glamour girl.
Yeah. I like it. Beautiful.
Mm.
Why did you want to join the Air Force?
Well, I suppose you've heard about it anyway. Australia was in dire need at the time, and there was, the invasion was so imminent that you didn't know. The first thing, and as I said, I worked on a country telephone exchange down at Lake Grace, which is, I don't know whether you know the state very much.
A little bit. Yeah, I know Lake Grace a little.
Well, that's about 300 kilometres from Perth. And one day, the girl on the exchange telephone down at Hopeton, on the south coast, she rang to say that there's this seaplane was circling the jetty.
Wow, okay.
And of course, first thing we think of is, with the Japs, of course.
Yeah.
At that stage, everybody was on alert, sort of thing. But what could we do? It was. West Australia was just open to the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, it turned out it was only an American reconnaissance plane had got out of got lost. Actually, I don't think they were aware of the currents of the wind and that in the Southern Ocean.
Yeah. And
they'd got lost and nearly out of fuel, so they had to find somewhere to land. So it caused quite a sensation then. After that, but yes, I did write an article once to the. There was an army fellow who was after some information. Yeah. And that was a story about the. I thought it was because we were bound to secrecy in those days. You are still, I suppose, in the service, and so because I couldn't say anything, but I thought, well, after 50 years, that's supposed to be obsolete then. Yep. So I thought, well, yes, I'd write this little story, but probably nobody ever heard of it.
No, I didn't.
Only the people there, down there.
So, that call came through and everyone panicked and that inspired you to go and join the RAAF.
Anyway, he took it up and he said it was going to go into a book or something in Sydney. And I said, oh, that's all right. That's not, it's fact. Yeah. I guess they could trace it if they wanted to. But, and then he said, well, it's going into the Batty Library too. So I thought, oh, well, that's all right. It's not, they had to ask my permission, of course. Yeah. But I said, well, it's a little bit of wartime history that probably wasn't aware of, like we weren't aware of all the bombing that was going on. Yeah. We never knew anything about that.
When did you learn about that?
Well, it was after the war.
Well, it must have been a bit of a shock to you.
Yeah, nobody knew. Only the people that were... Well, actually, we did know that Darwin had been bombed because we knew people that had to... and that were there. And one of the Air Force fellows that was there at the time, he came from Lake Grace. And so, that was sort of first-hand information, but... we didn't realise how bad it was, and then we did hear about all the Catalinas being bombed, with all the people being lost, and that was a terrible thing. So that was how the only thing, but we didn't know that they bombed all down the coast. Yeah, and didn't learn a lot of it till after the war.
I suppose they didn't want to panic.
Well,
people.
It wasn't general news. Yeah. The people that were in those areas, of course, knew very well.
Yeah, they did.
The boys that were stationed in those areas, they knew, but it wasn't just general news. Yeah, so there was a lot of it we learnt, after the war, and even in latter years, there's been a lot disclosed. I was reading, there was an article of, I collect all this memorabilia, I'm a bit of a collector, And when all the places that were bombed in Western Australia, you know, and I said half of them didn't know what you know, some of them were quite, you know, Port Hedland and Onslow and all those. Somehow I knew about the mission up in
That was
the name of the place?
It was Merrow or
Right
something?
up the other side of Derby.
Yeah.
That was bombed, and I think there was, I don't know, the priest I think was killed, and some of the inhabitants, I think it was four or six or something, seven, something. There was a few killed there when that was bombed, you know. But I mean, you sort of, you know, you didn't. It was only just sort of through the church that I learned that bit, you know. Yeah, so you didn't know a lot.
Yeah.
It was actually, I mean, I worked on the switchboard.
Yep.
And I mean, telephones then, of course, are quite different today.
Yes, very different.
And I mean, we were the front line of communication. That was telephones then.
Yep.
You know, that and then, of course, then the teleprinters and that came in, and wireless operators and that, all those, you know. And I remember the night on the, must have been about the 18th or 19th of August, on the Friday night, and apparently the word came through from Colombo that the war was finished. You know, they decided to finish.
Yep.
They hadn't signed. I mean, they didn't sign until the following Wednesday, on the 15th of August, and it was the Friday before, so that'd be about the 9th or something, wasn't it? And anyway, I was on the main switchboard at headquarters in St George's Terrace at that time, and the girl ran down from the SIG's office, and she said, "The war's over." Okay, the war, you know. And that was it, and that was all I heard then. Anyway, a few minutes later, the duty officer rings me and he says, "What's this about the war finished?" I said, he said, where did it come from? I said, where's the call come from? I said, "I don't know." Well, I didn't know who she was that had rung me, and it hadn't gone through the switchboard. I said, "I'm sorry, it didn't go through the switchboard." You know, there was no call came through the switchboard. So I suppose he rang. I don't know whether he rang upstairs, but I mean, this girl could have been in serious trouble because she shouldn't have done it. I mean, she was only just at ACW, and the sergeant of the watch should have done what, you know, reported anything that was necessary. But anyway, she got too excited, I suppose.
Understandable.
I don't know whether she got into trouble or not. I don't know. I didn't know. But it wasn't until the following Wednesday that you know, it was signed, and we were in the queue for breakfast, and they said, "If it comes through on the 8 o'clock news that it's over, you don't have to go to work today." Muggins had to go to work. You can't abandon the switchboard.
Yep. Yeah.
So I had to go to work. But anyway, that was all right. That didn't worry me. I wasn't keen on racing around the streets, as a lot of them were.
I suppose you would have still been busy though, right? People trying to call and find out things and call their friends and families.
Yeah. But anyway, as I said, it didn't. There was nothing came through from me because I didn't know directly. I wasn't told only by this girl, and I knew straight away that you know, she shouldn't be ringing me because. But apparently, she must have rang the officers' mess straight away then. And anyway, that was that. But that was how I heard the war was finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been pretty exciting to hear. What did you think? Maybe it was a.
Sorry?
Yeah. Was it that like a really exciting time, or was it? Did you think maybe it might have been a hoax, or?
I remember that night, on the Friday night, I finished at 11:30, and one of the other girls, one of the teleprinters, she lived in the same barracks, and it was the Cloisters. We were living there then, and she said, "I don't feel like celebrating." She'd lost two brothers, I think she said.
Yeah.
So we walked home together, and you know, she Silly girls, some of them went berserk, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Tipped
fair
the
enough.
place upside down, and when we got back to the cloisters, the duty officer and the duty sergeant were trying to clean up the mess they made.
They just trash it.
They tipped the flowers upside down. They done all these stupid things.
Yeah.
You know, made a terrible mess. Gone out and left it then. You know.
Yeah, that's
People
not a
can
great
get
thing.
overexcited.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, that was the end of the war, but no, it was a great experience. Yeah.
After the war was over, did you stay in the RAAF?
No, I got my discharge a week after the war. I had applied for compassionate discharge because we knew the things were going down, you know, and because they finished in England, and that was everything was sort of brought over here then, and so I then applied for my mum needed me. She had a little cafe in Lake Grace, and she'd been running this during the war all on her own, and you know, she needed some help, especially with everybody coming home now, with you know, all the servicemen and that coming home, you know. So I had already applied, and my discharge came through on that Friday night. I didn't know, but I was told, I think, you know, I know it was the next day or after the weekend, and a week later I got my discharge.
It's pretty quick.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, so they were, you know, once it came through, it just went. Of course, then, I mean, everybody, all the married girls, of course, they were just off. They didn't even wait to get discharged. They were just off. You know, as soon as their husbands came home, they were gone.
Yeah, fair enough.
A friend of mine who's still in contact with her, she lives, she came from Donnybrook, but she lives here in Perth now in care, and she's 98. And her husband was in England in the air crew, and fortunately he came home. But yes, that was you know, I mean, we had the war to us started as soon as the war was declared, because all our relatives are in England.
Yep. Okay.
We had no relatives here.
Yep.
And my mum was, you know, my mum and dad, they were, you know, all their families were there. My mum was very worried, you know, about them because she'd been through the First War. And she said, you know, wrote, but her brother wrote and he said, look, don't worry. He said, as far as rations go, he said, we're a lot better off this time because they brought out the rations straight away.
Yep.
Where they didn't until 1917 in the First War.
Okay.
So, you know, Mum said there was always, you know, they were always looking for food.
Yep.
And she said she used to go to work on black bread and treacle.
Yeah, that sounds appetising.
Yeah, most of it appetising. But, I mean, we went in, Mum and my brother and I, we went into England in 1952, and even then we could still take food with us. And they said every passenger could take 10 pounds of any food, and every food you could carry, you know.
Yeah.
So we took a bag of sugar, and I don't know how much tea.
You took tea to England.
Butter, tin butter. But of course, then during the war they brought out here tin bacon.
That sounds awful.
No, well, apparently it was delicious for them in England.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because this brother of Mum's, he wrote when we were going, he said, if you can get any of that bacon that you used to send in the parcels, as soon as the war finished, they finished producing it. But it was all wrapped in grease paper and done in coils in a tin. And apparently it was, I mean, it was delicious to them, because even then they were you only got a 1.5 rasher a week.
Yep.
In 1952, of course, while we were there, the other uncle that we stayed with, he had a rasher every morning before he went to work. He thought he was somebody, you know. Even then, you know. Anyway, that was how things were, you know. So yes, you know, we used to send parcels. And but of course some of them went to the bottom of the sea. All so much shipping was lost. particularly around England. So I don't know whether, they just appreciated what they could get.
Not a lot you could get, so when you
But
got
as I
it...
said, everything was rationed right from the word go. £9 worth of meat or something for a week.
Yeah, it's not enough.
You wouldn't imagine. Although I said to one of my cousins when we were there, I said, "Do you want when we were travelling, because we got our coupons too. They issue you with even the visitors with coupons. If you were staying with family or friends, or you couldn't eat their food. It was just something that we had straight away. So it was good. But the bread, even then, I'm sure it had sawdust in it.
Oh, yeah.
It was ghastly. I couldn't eat it. I lost 2 stone in weight when I went to England. On that trip.
That's a bit.
I couldn't eat some of the food. But anyway, we lived on the fat of the land here. So I went around a few stations and, had a lot of experience. I said for a country girl, it was a great experience. And I think I was a different person after.
Yep.
Because you learn to know others, which we didn't. When you're isolated out on a farm, you don't sort of meet up with the people like you do when you're in the services anyway. But it was a great experience and a great. That's why, as I said, it was just that it was something that I felt. My dad had been in the Air Force during the First War, and I just felt that, and my brother and I, we just followed on. Not that my dad wanted me to go.
Yeah.
He said he wouldn't sign the papers.
Thanks, Dad.
Dads and their little girls,
Yeah.
And anyway, eventually I said to Mum, get him to sign that paper. She had to get him to sign it. He wouldn't do it for me. But, he realised afterwards what he did. It was good for me, It broadened my outlook and made me grow up, I suppose, from a country kid to, I said I came in as a country kid and went home a city sister.
Do you march on Anzac Day?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I used to do it in the city.
Yep.
But now my grandson marches with Cannington Scouts, and they go in the march there, so I go out to Cannington with them. I'm the only one left now to march in our group.
Yep.
So, we joined the post-war girls, the last time we went. There was only another girl and I, but she can't march now. So I said, well, I don't feel like going into the city on my own. So I go with the family out to Cannington and march there. So that's a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Waving the flag for them all now.
But it's just wonderful to be part of the crowd, And I said it's really quite humbling, really, to march. To think that you can march, and see those veterans, some of them, hardly able to walk, and some in wheelchairs and pushing walkers and all sorts of things, and yet still fight on. And that's the spirit of the Anzac.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely. Yeah.
They just keep on going.
Yep.
You don't give up. And that's, I think that's still carrying through. And as I said, I did a talk with one of the schools a couple of years ago, and I said, that's what we want to pass on to all the children in particular. And as I said, but the schools are wonderful the way they do Anzac Day now. Even when my grandson was at his primary school, and when he was in grade 2, and they did the Anzac service.
Yep.
And he came home one day and he said to me, Nana, you were in the war? And I said, yes. He said, I've got to ask you some questions.
Yep.
So he proceeded to do that. And anyway, then I was telling you about when I was in Cunderton, and that was a flying training school. And I said we got the opportunity to go up in a plane.
Yeah.
I've never been up in a plane before. And but we had to wear parachutes.
Yep.
We had to put parachutes on. And I said they're the most awkward contraptions you can wear. I think they're a little bit more modernised now, but then they were terrible contraptions to try and move in.
Oh dear.
But I said that was the rule of the station. You had to wear these. If you went in an aircraft, you had to wear these. So we were all hobbling along in these parachutes. Anyway, he said, "Did you have to jump out?" And I said, "No, thank goodness." But I said the boys all had to learn to because I said that saved a lot of their lives, a good many of their lives.
Yeah.
And I said because they had to learn how to use them. Oh, I mean, you're instructed, of course, with them, as well. But as I said, I don't know what you do if you really had to wear them. Even on domestic aircraft, whether you had to put something on like that. I don't know whether you do it. I don't know.
Yeah, they're not easy to get into.
It's not. Wouldn't be my cup of tea.
No,
not now anyway. I wouldn't even go up in the balloon.
Fair enough.
Although I don't mind flying. Yeah, so that's it.
No, that's great. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
This podcast was edited, published and produced by the RSLWA. Head to www.rslwa.org.au for other content. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook.